Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Dukes, and I'm here today to talk to you about precision metadata deployments using the Salesforce CLI, a bit like change sets. So what on earth does that mean? Well, basically, with a change set, what you use a change set for is you make a change in your sandbox, like you create a new field or whatever, and you want to put it in your production org. So you use a change set to transfer that into your production org. But change sets only work in specific situations. Now, I had the situation where basically I run an ISV. I had this demo org, and it was like really, really cool. I spent days and days and days building all these amazing dashboards and stuff in it. And then for various reasons, I had to scrap that demo org completely and then get a new one. And that's a completely different Salesforce instance. I want to take all the data, all the stuff that I built in that demo org, like my dashboards and stuff, which are not part of our package, but they were part of my demo, and I want to put those into the new demo org. So I thought, well, how do I do that? Okay, so what I actually did was I kind of thought, well, it won't take very long. It didn't take very long. It's always much quicker to do things the second time around. So I kind of built it all again from scratch. And that was really hard work. Anyway, come on a few months' time, and I had to do it again. Only this time I had to put it into 2 demo orgs. So I thought, well, I don't want to do that again. There must be a better way to do this. And that essentially is where I came across precision metadata deployments. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. I also thought, why is nobody talking about this? Am I the only person on the planet who ever found out about this stuff? Well, it turns out that's not really true, because people like Keir Bowden, he was blogging about this 5 years ago, but I didn't really realize that. And it's like, this is something that developers use, but why should developers have all the fun? Why can't admins have access to some of these cool tools? So let's look at what you would normally do with a deployment configuration if you're using change sets. So typically, you're going to have some sandboxes. You might have, this is quite a sort of complex one, a QA org, a staging org, or whatever. And what you do is you use that as your development environment. And there are other flavors available for our American friends who have a different spelling. So that's a simple thing. Or you might have something very, very simple like this. Of course, you wouldn't do that, would you? No. So, but the thing about this, in this kind of environment here, is that all these orgs, they're all sandboxes, right? And they're all what Salesforce calls, they're all affiliated. They're all in the same environment. So change sets work for deployments between affiliated orgs. It's what it helpfully tells you in the help file, which is great, but it says you can't create deployment connections between arbitrary orgs. So what on earth do you do? So here's some example scenarios where this might come in handy. So like me, I've got one demo org, I want to put it into another demo org. Maybe in my demo org, there's something I built that's so cool, I think, actually, you know what? That'd be really good as part of our managed package. So I want to put that into my Scratch org, into my development environment, and actually make that part of the managed package. Or maybe I want to take it from the Scratch org and put it into the demo org, either way. Or maybe I'm going to put it into a customer. Obviously, with a customer, we can put it into the developer sandbox, because the customer is then going to deploy that using the, we still like that comfort of the little round circle of the deployment of the change set and all that kind of stuff. So we're not getting rid of change sets, but this is just for the situation where you can't use change sets. That's what we're talking about here. So what are my options? Okay, I can't use a change set. I could redo the work. I tried that. I didn't like it. Or you could use a package or an unmanaged package. So you can build all this stuff into an unmanaged package. I'm not super keen on that either, and I will explain why in a bit. Or you could possibly use Git. Now, Git we use for our development environment. Obviously, we're pushing everything into source and whatever. But for this situation, it's not really appropriate. I mean, these could be little things I'm doing. I kind of think, oh, that's really good. I want to put that over there or whatever. And I think Git's a bit heavyweight for what I want to do anyway, specifically, which leads us on to the final thing, the CLI. So CLI, I don't want to get, I know some of these terms are a little bit techy, and I don't want this to be techy. I want this to be accessible to admins, really. But it's just a command line interface. We're going to see that in a minute. And also, obviously, wearing the T-shirt, Salesforce DX is the other thing that you need to use this. So Salesforce DX is a bit of a prerequisite. We'll see, but you'll just see it in the demo anyway. We'll talk about it a bit more. The other thing that's not on this slide, and perhaps I could have put on here, but I didn't, is there are apps you can buy on the App Exchange, that kind of thing. But I actually like to use the tools that come out of the box And obviously, AppExchange apps aren't necessarily accessible to every single user. So this is all stuff you can do with whatever Salesforce environment you've got. So an unmanaged package, essentially, you can build unmanaged packages, you can put all your changes in there, and then you can kind of release that and install that into other orgs, okay? But there's things I don't like about it, quite a lot I don't like about it. One, it's quite a time-consuming process. And then there's a fear factor. So when you're building your unmanaged package, A, it might put things in there that you don't quite understand. You think, why do I need a dependency on that? Why is that there? Why is that? See, there's that sort of not understanding what's in your org. But the other thing is, especially if you're going to work with customers, they might not want you to go around installing packages willy-nilly into all of their orgs. So customers tend to not like unmanaged packages. And then there's precision. So I might want to just do a small thing. Again, an unmanaged package seems far too big for my use. So we're going to use metadata. Now, I don't know if people here know what metadata is, but it's certainly nothing to be afraid of. So that is a little bit, I hope you can see that okay. But that is, what these are is just metadata about some fields, okay? So for anybody who's built a field, you'd be quite familiar with this. You give it a name, right? Maybe some help text, a description of the field, what kind of field it is, the size of it, all that kind of stuff. And that's, so that can all be stored as metadata, and you can use that essentially as the means to transfer a field, a flow, whatever you want, from one org to another. So metadata in the CLI, what I like about it, it's quick, it's really quick. We're going to do a demo in a minute, hopefully it will work. And you'll see where we can transfer stuff, I think, fairly quickly. Well, you can work that out for yourselves. It's targeted, it's precise. I really like this. So I can move one field, I can move 10 fields, whatever I want to do, but it can be really, really precise. And you don't, you're kind of very aware of what you're doing. You know exactly what fields you're moving and why you're moving them and all that kind of stuff. It's also reusable, which you'll see. So once you've built some of this metadata, you can actually store it, keep it wherever you like. I mean, you could even put it into GitHub, but you can use this to deploy into multiple orgs, so it's reusable, which is quite handy. And a cool thing, it's editable, which is useful, as we'll see, because sometimes you actually might need to edit the metadata between orgs. And then finally, now, I wrote this down and I've forgotten already what it is, but this icon, I was trying to find an icon for this. Does anyone know what that is? Does it mean anything to anybody? No, okay. It's actually called Penrose Stairs, apparently. This is the idea of, like, you heard of somebody called Isha who made this, like, drawings of people going upstairs or whatever? Exactly. So there's steps that keep going upwards, right? So we can't actually build steps that keep going upwards with metadata, but we can do some pretty cool things. So my view of something that's impossible would be, for example, taking a community, or as we love to call it now, experience cloud site, from an org, and taking that entire community and put it into a completely unconnected org. Now, I think that's impossible, but maybe not, so we'll see. So what's in the toolbox? What are you going to be seeing today? Okay, the first thing, Salesforce DX. Now, Salesforce DX being a developer tool, I'm not even sure they have an official logo. This is the closest I could find. I think it might be the Salesforce DX logo, but I'm not really sure. But anyway, we're going to use Salesforce DX. So if you want to do this at home, right, you would need to install Salesforce DX, set up a Salesforce DX environment. There are trailhead trails on how you do that. It's not actually that complicated, but you need to get Salesforce DX set up in order to use this. And then we're going to see, you'll see a number of these. This is something called the package XML file. This is a really simple one because I'm a really simple person. I can't do complex stuff. So I like to keep them really, really simple. So that package XML file, what it tells you essentially is just what you want to get. What bit of stuff that you made did you want to take out of that org to put into a new org? And that's essentially all it is, right? Then this, the help file, okay? Now, we'll have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the help file, as you'll find out as we go through the demo. But it is really, really useful. So you're definitely going to need access to this, because it does give you a few helpful ideas on how to get the data out. And then we need some commands. Now, it's really simple. This is the command line. You have got to type stuff in. But it's not that difficult. You only need 3 commands, okay? So the first one, and we'll see these in the demo again, but the first one essentially pulls stuff out of an org. So that stuff is pulling stuff out of an org. That one pushes stuff into an org, right? And then this one here tells you whether it's worked or not. Now, this last one here is quite good fun because 2 weeks ago, when you ran that command, it told you not only what went wrong, or not only that something went wrong, but what went wrong as well. And talking about Salesforce is great because they changed it, I think, last week. So as I was running through my demo, it's like, where are all my error messages? What's happened here? They've changed it. So, which is nice. But anyway, we found a way, thanks again to Kia's blog, to actually see the error messages when they come up. But they do like doing stuff like that to you. Anyway, so you've got retrieve, take the stuff out, deploy, put it in, report, tell you if it's worked. What could possibly go wrong? Now, when I got this slide yesterday, I thought, oh, that looks quite cool, doesn't it? So this morning, the first thing I did when I got to the station was spilt coffee all over myself. So, so maybe it wasn't really the right slide to choose. I had time actually to go back and change because my train was delayed. So, but yeah, there are some other things. I will talk about that. So with a change set, when you deploy a change set into an org, what you'll do is you'll run some tests to make sure it's all going to work, kind of thing. So you can run that before you deploy it and make sure it's all going to go okay. You don't have that luxury, right, with these metadata deployments. However, it is really simple. Essentially, one of two things happens. Either it works or it doesn't work. And that's about it. So really, it is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. And you can kind of see what's going along as you go along. Okay? So, without further ado, and the thing you've all been waiting for, let's get on with the demo. Right, so, excuse me. So, let's see what we can do here. So, I've got two Salesforce orgs here. So, this is my new Salesforce org, which doesn't have a dashboard on it, right? And then this one here is my cool Salesforce org that does have a dashboard on it. Now, very stupidly, I decided to change this just earlier on because it didn't really fit the screen very well. So it might mess up my demo completely, we don't really know. But basically, there's my dashboard that I want to put into my other org. So how do I do that? Of course, I'm going to do that using metadata. So now, being organized, hopefully, we're going to go down here. What I've done is I don't know if you can see that, but basically, this is just a series of number of folders that I'm going to be using to do this. Because when you're moving this metadata over, with a managed package, typically you're going to move everything. You move the reports and the dashboards and everything all in one go. I actually like to do it bit by bit. So I like to move the fields first or whatever, and then the report types, and then the reports, and then the folders, then the reports, then the dashboard, then whatever. Because I find that doing it that way, A, you get a really good understanding of what you're doing, and you're making sure you're doing the right stuff. And it kind of, I think it's quicker in the long run, because essentially if something goes wrong, you fix it when it's gone wrong, and then you go on and do the next bit. You know the first bit's worked, and then you do the next bit's worked, and the next bit's worked, and so on and so on and so on. So that's the way I like to do it. So I'm going to run through those things in order. So if we're going to deploy these dashboards, we need to put in a number of different things. So the first thing, for whatever reason stupid, and it's not in my dashboard, but just anyway, I've got a global pick list value set that I'm going to move across. Then I've got some fields I'm going to move across. Then I've got a permission set because I want to make sure my user's got permission to these fields, right? Then I've got some report types. So I've built some custom report types in my dashboard. Then I've got some folders. That's quite good fun, as we'll see in a minute. Then I've got some reports, dashboards, homepage. You get it, right? And then, if we've got time, we will do the impossible thing. We'll have a fun and try and play around with moving a community over as well. But we'll see how the timing goes. I'm not 100% convinced we're going to get there, but we'll see. So what we're going to do now, then, if we look in this folder here, whoops, sorry. Let's do it that way. All right, okay. So if we look at the first one here, basically, I've created that package XML file. And in this case, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I can zoom into that, but essentially, this is telling me what I want to get. So this is a global pick list, and this is the metadata file. All it basically says, I want to get a global value set called target group, and that's it. So I'm now going to go and run my command. Now, I have, hopefully, put all my commands on a notepad thing that I haven't got, so let's see if we can get that up there. Oh, don't worry about it. Right. Hang on a second. Why didn't I put that? Why didn't I put that? Why didn't I open that up? I don't know. Right. Okay. So first thing we've got to do, I'll tell you what, we just go straight into the command line and just do it that way. So first thing I'm going to do, I've got to go into, I've got to change my directory. So I'm in the Salesforce DX folder. And the first thing I actually need to do is with that new org, I need to connect it to Salesforce DX, right? And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'll make sure I've got that org open, come back here, and then I'll run the connection. So basically, you just run it like that. So this is that command there, where it says London's NNC 2022, that's essentially the alias of my org. So I'm going to give my org an alias when I connect it. So this is my org. Now, obviously, this is just a demo org, so I don't care. So I've got my username saved there. I'm going to go into it. And that will now connect it to my development environment, right? So if I order to Salesforce DX, so Salesforce DX knows that org exists. And then the next thing I need to do then is use that. I'm going to get that. Let's see if I can get the first one out. So I'm going to basically get that first file out. So I'm going to pull out that metadata. Now I am going to, excuse me, so I am going to, and we know we're talking about not doing this earlier, but yeah, let's get that file. So this is my first command, right, which I'm going to use. And come on, let's get that out there. So let's put this into the command line, right? So what this basically says is, I want you to get from, I've got two orgs. So I've got London School in 2021 1, 2022 1, and 2. So org 1 is the donor org 2 is the recipient org. So what I'm basically saying is, go into org 1. This is the folder I want you to put the file in that I'm going to extract. This is the package XML file that I want you to use to get that information, right? And I just run that, and it will only take a few seconds, hopefully. And then once it's run, what happens is that if we come in here, so if I go back to, let's see if we go back to, yeah, there we are. You'll see this new file here that's created called unpackaged.zip. So it puts this stuff into a zip folder. Let's go and look inside that zip. So inside that zip, there'll be a package XML file, which will be actually exactly the same as the one you started with. And then there is my global value set. So this thing here then is the metadata for my global value set. So I've pulled that out of one org successfully. Now what I need to do is simply push it into the other one. So for that, I have another little command here. So I'm going to grab that, go back to the command line, and very simply, I push it in. So I've got one org, taken something out, put it into another org. I have to do that first. It's important you do it in the right order. Now I need to find out if that's worked or not. So basically, to do that, I'm going to run this little command here. So this is the final one of the three that we need, right? And what happens is that when you run this, it helpfully gives you the ID up there. So I can just get rid of all that, put the ID. So that's the ID of the job. And I'm just going to run that. I don't know what that equals is supposed to be doing there. Definitely not an equal sign. Right, I can run that, and that will then tell me if it's worked or not. And hopefully it's worked, because otherwise we're in big trouble. Oh, dear. That really is a bad thing. Oh, no, I can tell you why that is. Hang on, wait a second. Because I don't think I put the ID in correctly. Let's try that again. I'll tell you why. I know why. Exactly why it is. That says org 1, but I put it into org 2. So luckily, I got some wits about me. Right, so that now tells me that it worked. Okay, so there are no errors, it deployed. And that's essentially how you do it. So there's nothing more to the demo than that. We're just going to see that happening a few different times. So the next thing I want to do then is I want to do the, so my next job would then be to go into the, do the same thing with the fields. So if we just quickly look at the fields. So with fields, it's slightly different. You have to put the object name and then the field name in there. But other than that, it's very simple. So there's my package XML file. You can see there's quite a few fields I'm going to get out. So I'll do exactly the same thing again. Go back in here. I'm going to go to a text file, grab my fields one. And then essentially, it all gets very samey. So I'm going to do the same thing with the fields. Get it out. Right. And then while that's running, grab the other command and put it in. Right, so that's taken. So now I've taken the global pick list value set out. I've taken the fields out, put them back in. Now I can report on that. So let's see if we can get a bit of copy and paste here. So We can do a report. Basically, all we need is the job ID, which is that one there. Get rid of that one and put that one in, and then hopefully it worked. It did work. I know it worked. Right. So it's put 25 new fields in there, and that was really, really easy. Then I'm going to go and do the same thing with my permission set. So that looks good. So let's do the permission set. We're getting there. We're getting there. Right. So same thing with permission set. I extract that, and then hopefully that's coming out. And then while that comes out, I get this. And then I'm going to go and put it back in. So it's retrieved it, put the permission set in. And then once that's happened, I'm going to run that report again. So run that report, and what we'll see is that as I run that report, basically, well, what I'm hoping to see, we'll see what I see. It failed. It failed. So this is a thing that, honestly, a week ago was completely different. So when you got that error message, it actually helpfully told you what failed. Now it doesn't. So a bit of panic yesterday when I discovered this. But I did discover, thanks to, again, to a 5-year-old blog post, that if you put --JSON in, you can actually get the error message, right? So you can see what went wrong and why it went wrong. So it gives you a lot of information about your deployment there. The error is actually up here. So basically, what happens is I've created a new field called spanner in the works, and I forgot to put in my change set, right? So not my change set, my metadata. I forgot to put that in. So I've got to correct that. So two ways I could do that. The first way would be to basically just get that field and put it into the new org. But another thing you could do, I said earlier, you can edit the metadata file, and you can. So let's go and do that. So basically, we are now on the permission set. Whoops. And here is the file it's helpfully created for me. What do I want to do that for? So if we go into that file, you'll see the permission sets is there. Now, I can't actually edit it in here, but I can. So I need to copy it out first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. Because it's inside the zip file, I can't edit it inside the zip file. So I'm just going to put it in a folder where it is editable. Then I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to look for that spanner, right? And there it is. So I can actually just delete that straight from the metadata. So I can take that out of there, save it, right? Come back into my, and I think this is one of the really handy things about the metadata. You can edit it, right? So let's see if we can get that, edit it. And then I'm going to put it back in the zip file and overwrite that one. And then run the deployment again. So basically, where are we now? We're here. So I'm going to run that same deployment again. And this time, hopefully, when I run that report, it's going to show me that it succeeded. It will show me it succeeded because I practiced this, right? So let's see. Right, so there is my, I don't need the JSON anymore. If it didn't succeed, we're all stuffed. You're not going to. So hopefully that then succeeded, right? So that's a good thing about the metadata. Obviously, if it goes wrong, you can use that JSON command. You can find out what went wrong, and then you can actually edit the file if you need to edit the file and change it. That can be useful in all sorts of reasons. Another one that we're going to see later. So I think we're a bit bored now of just pulling all this stuff out. So like the best cooking shows, some of this I have already done. I've had prepared earlier. So we're just going to run the deploys now because I've actually done all of the pulling bits out, so we don't need to see that all again. And to be honest, the one problem with this, there isn't very much to watch because not an awful lot going on as long as it all works. So report type's pretty straightforward, so I'm going to put those into my org, like so. Again, I will run the report on this. I mean, you could actually look in the org, and you could see these in the org as well. But anyway, we'll run the report just to see that that worked, which I'm sure it did. And while that's going, we're going to put in the folders. So folders is an interesting one because this is one thing that essentially, this is where the help file really let me down, right? So if you try and find out from reading the metadata help file about how to put folders into your org, it is, to be honest, useless, right? It doesn't tell you anything at all. So I thought, well, I'll just look online like I normally do, and I found one blog post that essentially said, create the folders in your org with the same names. And that's what I did actually the first time we did it. But I kind of thought, that's not good enough for London's Calling, right? You have paid for your tickets, right? You want to see blood. So we have to do that. We have to make it work. So, so if we go here, I'll show you what the XML file looks like. And it's not, oh goodness, what am I doing now? Right. Let's have a look at that XML file. It's over here. So this is the, where are we going? That's permission sets, report types. We've done that. We're done with permission sets, right? We're done with permission sets. We're done, report types, folders. There we are, folders. So with folders, there's a special syntax. So dashboard for whatever, it doesn't tell you this helpfully in the help file, but it's dashboard folder, and then you need the API name of the folder. Same for reports, report folder, you need the API name of the folder. Once you've got that, it's simple and it works, okay? So we're just going to do those, deploy those reports now, or report folders. So report folders, right? So they go in, and then again, you know, it is helpful as you're going along to keep running these little reports. So we'll just check that that worked. I'm pretty sure it did. Because I kind of know when it's going to, well, hopefully I know when it's going to go wrong. Otherwise, I start panicking. Okay, so that works. So the folders are in there. Now we're really on the final throws here now. So we're going to put the reports in. Okay, put that one in. And then, of course, let's report on that one. So you can see it is pretty speedy. I mean, you could actually put all of this, by the way, in the same package XML file, and you could do it all in one go. So I like to do it in bits, not really to bore you all, but just simply because I think it's for me, it kind of gives me a better understanding of what I'm doing, and I understand as I'm going along. Whoops, and I can. You know, basically, if things are going wrong, I can kind of see them in the moment when they're going wrong, but it's all working, which is good. So that's done. So my reports have gone in, so my reports are there. Now I want to put the dashboards in. Now, the dashboards is another one which is rather strange, because basically, for dashboards, what you need is you need the API name of the dashboard, right? So how do you get the API name of the dashboard? Well, you could go and look at the dashboard, couldn't you? So you could go and see your dashboard, and you could kind of go into, maybe you're going to edit it, maybe you're going to look at the properties of it. Maybe we'll look at the properties of the dashboard. The API name is not there. How do you find it? Well, you run a query. I mean, this is the only way to find it, is you run this query in the developer console. Interestingly, dashboard doesn't have a name field in it for some reason, but you can retrieve the ID of it. So basically, you can get the API name of the dashboard, which is that thing there, BT2, blah, 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 gobbledygook. But you need that. You need to put that into a package XML file. So when you get that package XML file, it looks like, there we are. I didn't get that one out. But basically, you actually put the API of the dashboard in there. So let's run let's run that one. We really are nearly there now. Okay, and then finally, now this one I'm going to have to do because I changed it. So unpackage.zip. Yeah, I want to report, right? Okay. So anyway, there we are. So I've moved that dashboard in. Now, I know I didn't show you this earlier. I should have done. But if I go to dashboards, on there and look at my folders, there is no, I did honestly not, this was just before we started the talk. If I run that now, hopefully, dashboard folders, I can see my new dashboard folder. So there's my folder, and there's my dashboard. So, and then I can refresh it and put some data in it, or put some data in it, and that's all there. So essentially, that's I think that's pretty cool. You can take something from a completely unrelated org and put it in there using the metadata API. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to try the thing that I think is impossible now, which is communities. Okay, so communities are a little bit different, and with communities, essentially, you need to do something. You need to do a number of different things. So the first thing you need to do with communities, again, nothing obvious in Salesforce, is basically communities are not using the metadata with API with communities is not enabled out of the box for whatever reason. You have to turn it on. So if I go and, you go into settings here, and in the settings of your org, I'll just turn that off, you can see here there's a thing saying enable the experience bundle metadata API. If you don't do that, you can't use the metadata API on your communities, so you have to enable that first. What I then do is, communities is a little bit tougher. To be honest, it can be really, really tough. It depends how different your communities are. I've got 2 communities, and the first thing you need to do is to create 2 different communities. So you need to create a community in your recipient org, as well as one in your donor org. And if you want an easy life, you make them as similar as you can to give them the same name and all that kind of stuff, because it's just easier. And then what you do, but there are certain things that are different. So you need to know the things that are different. And I'm thinking about it, it's actually the same in folders as well. What I'm going to show you also would apply if you're moving folders over, because they have an owner that's linked to a username. Anyway, so for communities, what I recommend you do is we're going to go to, and I don't know how we got into that folder there. Where are we going? Where are we going? Right, okay. So if we look at the Experience Cloud, what I've done is I've created 2 folders here. I've created a donor folder and a target folder, because I want to basically take both communities out of both orgs. And I'm going to kind of use bits of each of them to move it back in again, or at least compare them and work out why it doesn't work. So let's see if we can run that really quickly. We've got about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to get the donor one, and I'm going to run that. And then I'm going to get the recipient one, and I run that. And you can see with the folder here, by the way, I can say which folder I want to put it into. So that's going to go into the donor folder. And then I'll get the recipient one as well. Like so. So it takes a bit longer, because obviously it's doing a bit more. It's getting a few more things, but hopefully it will run. And then I'm going to get the recipient folder. So there isn't much in my community, to be honest. So if I look at the, let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Escape. Let's go look at these 2 communities. So if we go to setup, not sure we're going to get time to finish this, but never mind, we'll see. So, no, I don't know. Well, it still works anyway. So, Experience Cloud, of course, old habits. So, my new community, essentially, the community I'm transferring only really has 1 page in it. So that makes it simpler. So I've got a page here on which I want to move across. So this is really pretty much the only thing in this community. If your community's got more stuff in it, it might be a bit more complicated. But that's my page, which hopefully is going to do something. And then this is my new experience site, which I have created, but it's basically just, all it's got is the name. There's nothing in this experience site at all. So this is and you can see there's basically no pages there. That's a completely brand new spanking community. So what happens is I've run I pulled the source out of the first org. I'm also going to pull the source out of the second org. And then I'm going to run the deploy to try to deploy straight away. Maybe I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you this will fail, right? When I'd run it, it would fail. So I'm not actually going to run it right now, because I know it's going to fail. And the reason it fails is because when we pull those files out, there's some things that are essentially specific to the org that it came from. So if we come over here to the communities, and we look at that donor org, and we look in the unpackaged here, you can see in I think it's in the sites file. Yeah, you can see that it's got the site admin, and that's a username, right? So that username is obviously specific to that org. So if I try and push that file in, it will fail. So again, same thing, I need to essentially take that file out of there, change it, and put it into the thing. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to get that whole unpackaged file, I'm going to whack it down here, and then I'm going to get that site file, which I've actually got one here already that I prepared earlier kind of thing, and see if this works. So in that site file, I've then changed so the username there is 1, and I need to change it because I've been fairly organized. I changed that to the username in my new org like that, right? But it can be basically, when I did this before, it was miles more complicated than this. And I don't know quite why it was more complicated. It was a much, much bigger site. And so I ended up changing loads and loads of stuff. But it was really handy to have the two things to compare. Anyway, I'm going to go into that package, go into the site, and we're going to put that in. So I just replaced that file, and the difference between the file I had and the file I'm going to use, essentially, is just that username. And then we're going to run our deploy command, and hopefully we will finish off with something impossible. So there we are. So now, last time we did this, it worked just like that. Whether this does or not, I have no idea. So we're going to find out now. So if it doesn't work, I'm going to give up anyway because we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to run my report and see what happens. Hopefully it worked. Sometimes if it hasn't finished, it will just tell you it hasn't finished. So it hasn't finished yet. It's still going. So we could be a little bit patient. I'm not very patient, but we'll be a little bit patient. Wait for a few minutes. And then we'll run that again. And it's still going. By the way, talking about that help file, for this, all the metadata help file really tells you is it's possible and you're on your own. It doesn't tell you how to do any of this at all. So here we go. Come on. Look at that, we've done it. So that's actually has moved a community from one org to a new, completely unconnected org. And then hopefully, if I go to this new org now here, and I'll just refresh it. So let's just refresh this. I should see that new page in my community. And there it is. So there's the program, and there's the page. And it's there. Cool. Come on. So on that happy note, I'm going to stop. So what I have got, oh, look great. That's just a CSP thing, right? And the only reason that's coming up is because I've got some Trailhead badges in there, and I haven't put it into my CSP. So that's not broken. It's working, but it just doesn't. It just honestly, it's working. I promise you, it's working, right? There we go. Thank you. That was my little reminder. So coming back to my slides, right, let's do it. So what I have got is for some of these things, when you're doing this, there are little subtle changes all the time to some things that you're doing. So I've written a little cheat sheet here. I will distribute these slides afterwards. So if you want to try this at home, these might help. So a little cheat sheet there. The cheat sheet I used on doing that deployment of the report. I didn't do the homepage. I was too scared. Sorry about that. And then this is the Experience Cloud one, what you do there, okay? And some further reading. So there is a Trailhead module on this about the package XML and how you use it. And there's also a link there to the metadata help file. And that's it. So I'm done. But obviously, if you've got any questions, then now is your time. Fire away.
When you deploy the keys to your what happens to the FLS side of things?
Okay, so that would be in the permission set, really. So we use permission sets a lot. So essentially, yeah, there won't be any access to those fields. No one has any access to those fields. What I'd actually done beforehand and why it worked was that permission set already existed in the recipient org, and I'd already assigned that permission set to myself. So when I put the permission set in again, which had all the new fields in it, it actually just overwrote the permission set that was there, so I actually got permissions by default, essentially. So it was a bit sneaky, but that's what I did.
But what if you have to do it by profile?
Well, I mean, basically, if you want to do it by profile, I wouldn't, but I mean, yeah, you just got to do it. I mean, I think you can move profiles as well, so you can move profiles with the metadata API. I mean, I don't, but you could.
The answer would be if you go for profile to add the profile in the retrieve, Salesforce will retrieve the profile regarding the metadata inside the package. So if you say there is prefix, the profile will contain the value for the prefix.
Okay.
No way to do it.
No way. Okay, there we are.
Last question. Metadata API or MD API versus source. What's the difference?
Versus?
Source. So you had SFDX.
Source format.
Yeah, source format versus MD API format.
No, there is a difference. Yeah, so I think one is basically if you want to If you want to put it straight into a package, I think the source format will let you do it. It's subtly different, but there we go. So there are people in this room who know much more about this than me. So if it's an exam, I will fail, but I know what I know, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's for if you basically, you should really be doing that in Git anyway. And so, but it will let you, if you've built something you want to put it into your package, you can put it directly into the metadata there. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Paul had a question. Sorry.
I just had a really simple question. Like, you've got the cheat sheet here. Do you have a video?
I think they made one.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Cool.
Yeah?
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what I do.
Quick question about standard fields. So you can't normally deploy sort of pick list, new pick list options to standard fields Salesforce, so like account type. If you added a new pick list option into that, could you then deploy that through the CLI, or do you still have to do that manually after post deployment?
There's a man here nodding his head. The honest answer is I haven't got a clue, but I suspect the answer is yes. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
They changed the behaviour. It used to be that it was additive. It is added a new picklist value. They changed it in an API version to basically override all of the picklist values. You just have to be a little bit careful depending on how you do it. But it can be done.
Okay. Cool. Look at that. Pretty much on time. Thank you very much.